Oh, good. Were you able to get the weather? All right, good. What do you think you want me to play that? Um, I don't know yet. .606 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Good morning, everybody. Brian here with you. Jake Barty producing. We call it Mornings with Brian Haldane, and we are off and running on this Tuesday morning. Going to cover a lot of ground today. We've got a lot of hurricane-related news and follow-up to get to as the morning wears on. We're going to talk with the Baton Rouge area chamber in the 7 o'clock hour. We are going to talk with Congressman Troy Carter in the 7 o'clock hour. Didn't get the chance to catch up with Congressman Carter last week, so looking forward to finding out exactly how District 2 is doing in the wake of Hurricane Ida. Looking to get his feedback on the transportation bill, which should be coming up soon, and a number of other different topics. In the 8 o'clock hour, Jeff Landry, Attorney General Jeff Landry, is going to join us at 8:15. He's got a big win for shrimpers in Louisiana, and want to talk vaccine mandates there as well. That's at 8:15. Then at 8:35, the folks from Inventherm, Danny Fields and Jason Hugenroth, making some waves in the soft serve ice cream business. Could Baton Rouge be on the map for that? Well, we are, so let's talk about it. What does that mean jobs-wise? What does that mean industry-wise? We're going to talk about that at 8:35. Like I said, a lot of hurricane news to get around to, from the governor heading to Washington, D.C., to looking at the next possible storm, to a number of different other topics within there. Plus, we'll have the latest COVID numbers and a whole lot. We got a lot of ground to cover. So let's get after it. Actually, before we get anywhere, let's start with what you just heard from Marissa Nuzzo. Did we hear this right? The cold front that's making its way across the country is going to make it to South Louisiana in some form or fashion? Yes, it would certainly appear so. We are looking at a 50-50 shot at rain today. And that actually looks like it's going to be in the late night hours, 9 p.m. on is where we're really going to see it. But along with that rain is going to come a drop in temperature. Today's high supposed to get up to 89 degrees. Tonight's low, 66. That's not bad, Brian. What am I really looking forward to here? Well, how about tomorrow's high? Topping out at 79 with an overnight low of 56. Oh, yeah. Overnight low of 56 means at some point along the way, everybody's making gumbo this week. Thursday, exact same thing in the day. High of 79. Overnight low of 54. Friday, high of 79. Overnight low of 56. Saturday, it looks like we'll get back into the 80s again. High of 82 with an overnight low of 58. But I'm scrolling through the next 2 weeks, and we don't have a high that's surpassing 85. Oh, could not be more well prescribed right now. By the way, if you're looking for that rain that's going to bring with it the cooler temperatures, like I said, our highest chance of rain doesn't start until 9 p.m. and then continues until around 2 a.m. You got a 50-50 shot at rain from 9 p.m. until midnight. Then it scales back to around a 30% chance of rain after that. And oh, by the way, once that cooler weather rolls through, what you're looking at is no greater than a 5% chance of rain on any given day this week. So, I don't know about you, but I'll take it. All right. Like I said, we got a lot of ground to cover this morning. We are going to talk a lot of hurricane. We are also going to talk a little bit about COVID. Looking to line up a reporter from CBS at 6:35 this morning to talk about COVID as the nation crossed another milestone that COVID deaths have now surpassed deaths for the Spanish flu, at least for the official recorded deaths. So we'll probably talk a little bit about that with CBS at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a break here in just a second. When we come back from that break, Ed Ogeron held his Monday press conference yesterday, getting ready for Mississippi State, going on the road to Mississippi State in an early kickoff this coming weekend. We'll have a ton of audio from Ed Ogeron next. Before we take that break, though, got to tell you about the folks over at Baton Rouge Physical Therapy. Normally, when we think about physical therapy, what we're thinking about is recovering from a major accident or injury. Baton Rouge Physical Therapy is about so much more than that. They basically introduced Baton Rouge to physical therapy 59 years ago. And in that time, they've learned how to work with you. They've learned how to develop techniques that work within your comfort zones. At Baton Rouge Physical Therapy, you're basically family. And that means they're going to take the time to truly understand your unique circumstances, including your anxieties and frustrations when it comes to physical therapy. They're going to sit you down. They're going to listen to your story and make sure they're able to get to the root of your physical limitations or mobility issues on your terms, on your level. 6 locations throughout the greater Baton Rouge area. You'll find them in Ascension, Livingston, and East Baton Rouge. Give them a call at 917-9185, 917-9185, or get your free screening online at brptlake.com. brptlake.com. Be better than your best. Think physical therapy with Baton Rouge Physical Therapy. Get home till real late. Had 4th grade girls basketball in West Baton Rouge Parish. across the river. Holy Family's in downtown Port Allen.
I've lived here for about half a decade almost. My geography still isn't that great.
Are you ready to take your real estate career to the next level? At Berkshire Hathaway Home Services United Properties, you can work alongside passionate and caring agents in a
Apparently the Packers were pretty upset from last week's loss against the Saints.
Well, they didn't show it till the second half. I checked in at halftime, and Detroit was winning. So, morning, Renee. Good morning, Eric. Good morning, Clint. What's happening, y'all?
We will look at traffic as we speak. Roadwork has picked up 10 eastbound between Segan Lane and Highland Road. There is a stop-and-go traffic back to Segan Lane, FYI. And if you're heading to New Orleans, the left lane is closed at milepost 218 on the Bonnet-Carré Spillway due to a vehicle fire. Traffic is backed up 3 miles in that area. Besides that, the rest is looking good.
The line.
The Steelers and the Ravens in the first 2 weeks. They're good teams. The defense is horrible. All they have on offense is Derek Carr and their tight end. That's basically it.
Two tight ends, actually. Darren Waller's really good, but so is Foster Morrow from LSU.
Then you have like 40 runs. That doesn't mean against the Steelers and the Ravens. This is just shuffling.
614, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Sports time. Time to check in with LSU head football coach Ed Orgeron. He held his Monday press conference yesterday. Last week's game against Central Michigan answered a lot of questions. There were a lot of areas where the Tigers improved, a lot of areas where the Tigers still need improvement. First of all, let's start with where did they improve?
Our tempo has gotten better. It's not where it needs to be. We need to continue to improve. Explosive plays, we had 12, which was really good. We improved in our protection. We only have 1 sack, but we're still not there yet. We're going to be challenged again this week.
They are going to be challenged this week, heading to Mississippi State. So, take the improvement from the Central Michigan game and build off of it. Where do you still need to improve?
On defense, we want to start fast. We want to strike blocks. We want to cause turnovers. We want to put pressure on the quarterback. We did that. We caused 2 turnovers, had a touchdown. I thought we played very good in spots. We still gave up some missed assignments, some deep balls. We have to fix that in a hurry.
Yeah, missed assignments and deep balls. You do need to fix that in a hurry because that's exactly what Mississippi State does. There's going to be a lot of passing in this ball game. We saw it last year, right out the blocks last year with the SEC-only schedule. LSU played Mississippi State in Game 1 and just got run up and down the floor, or run up and down the field one way and the other. So looking ahead to Mississippi State, what can we expect? A little bit of a revenge game maybe? What are we looking for here?
I mean, we have a plan. We've been looking at Mississippi State ever since we couldn't stop them last year, and it was embarrassing. I was embarrassed as a coach, and I take full responsibility. So, yes, we have some plans to do some different things, but obviously I can't tell you.
Well, I think a lot of that would start with, stopping crossing routes and the like. Jake, actually, if we could go back into the folder there's one more cut I want to grab. And I don't remember the number on it, but it's about Derek Stingley. A lot of questions about Derek Stingley after the last game. The blown coverages and whatnot. And Derek Stingley's getting a lot of criticism right now because, well, is he ready to move on? A lot of folks are just saying that he is looking to that next step, looking to move on to the NFL. Well, when it comes to Derek Stingley, is he a concern for Ed Orgeron right now?
Yeah, you got to give him credit. Look, at UCLA, the first week he practiced with UCLA, he didn't tackle all camp. So, him missing a tackle was not his fault. He was put in a position that he hadn't done yet. And in order to tackle, you got to tackle. And Corey's been working with him on tackling. He's healthy. He did a tremendous job. Those tackles he made were great, but that's typical Derek Stingley. That's just a matter of practicing and tackling.
The scoop and score touchdown that Andre Anthony had, it was Stingley on the hit. So if the concern is over wrapping up, that's one thing, but clearly making an impact there. But that wasn't even the play that I think most people are questioning right now. Most people are questioning the touchdown. Like, where was he at? LSU will travel to Mississippi State for a morning game. 11 a.m. kickoff in Davis-Wade Stadium this Saturday. Pre-game, I believe, starts at 7. It might be 6, which is a ridiculously early time for a pre-game, but nonetheless, we do start 5 hours before kickoff. Network pre-game starts at 9 a.m. I got a start time for LSU Auburn the following week, Saturday, October 2nd, when LSU comes back home. They will take on Auburn in Tiger Stadium, 8 p.m. So you go from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. I mean, that's basically an extra, half a day in between there. So beyond that, we don't know start times. They generally, it's generally a 2-week rolling announcement. So we do not yet know what the start time is for October 9th at Kentucky. But 11 a.m. this Saturday. How much more can LSU correct before then? And the amount of ground that has to be made up after last year's performance against Mississippi State. A lot of eyes are going to be on it. Green Bay righted their ship last night. Took them till the second half, but the Packers pull out a Monday Night Football win over the Detroit Lions. Aaron Rodgers, his second half numbers looking wildly better than his first half numbers. 35-17, your final score there, as the Packers just really rose to the occasion, and after putting up a dud against the Saints and a half of football that was left a lot to be desired. Aaron Jones living up to his big contract as well. All right, here comes the Fox Business Report, and we're talking a little bit about Pennington and Moderna next. Oh.
That bump banner just hit shuffle on the top 107.3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pick music tomorrow.
All right. That commercial on YouTube is going to be at 6:35. I've got to run downstairs. I got to run downstairs real quick.
We still got a little commercial break.
624, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. About 10 minutes from right now, we got a couple stories about Entergy coming your way that are raising some concerns, to say the least. And the Public Service Commission is going to be on the clock in very short order. Right now, though, let's talk a little COVID. Let's talk a little, about fighting COVID, really. The LSU Pennington Biomedical Research Center, which has been an absolute machine throughout COVID. I mean, it's been impressive, to say the least. Anyone who's gotten their vaccination over there knows full well how smooth it's been running. That's on the service side. They're also in on the testing side as well. They are about to move into conducting their first vaccination trial, evaluating the safety and effectiveness of the Moderna vaccine in children. The site's principal investigator, Dr. Daniel Shaw, says participants that want to take part in the trial can expect a minimum of 2 blood draws.
Along with getting the vaccine or a placebo, 75% of all the kids who are going to participate will get the actual vaccine.
So this is to test in kids 6 to 11, which it's important to note that since the beginning of the pandemic, there have been all of 16 children under the age of 18 who have died from COVID. 16 children who have died from COVID. More on that in a minute. Shaw says they've already enrolled enough children aged 6 to 11, and by the end of the month, they're going to register ages 2 to 5. Next month, children ages 6 months to less than 2 years. I don't know about you. I'm a parent. I have a 5-year-old. I have a 5-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 14-year-old. And the 14-year-old and 9-year-old were both under the age of 5 at one point. Both of them were under the age of 5 at one point in their life. Signing kids up for blood draws, not the easiest thing around. I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't know. I could tell you beyond any shadow of any doubt. There's no way I'd be signing my kids up for this. I mean, just that it's a fight that I don't know that any parent would want to have. Especially when you consider, like I said, 16 children under the age of 18 have died as a result of COVID. That is out of, let's see here, rating right from the Department of Health's numbers. From ages 0 to 4, 22,184 cases. From ages 5 to 17, 91,822 cases. Whip out the handy-dandy calculator. 22184 plus 91822 equals 114,006 total cases. And like I said, 16 have died. So we are looking at not 1/10 of 1%, 1/100th of 1%. I don't want to trivialize any death, but are we really looking to get kids under the age of 6 involved in this? The trial, by the way, is going to last 1 year. They're going to monitor antibody responses to the vaccine as well. Cut 8.
We want to see what the antibody response from half a dose of the Moderna vaccine is in this particular age group, and if it's, not only that it's effective, but it's safe and not giving too many side effects.
Shaw says side effects among those ages 6 to 11 in the Moderna trial are similar to those observed in adults, and I would expect that. I don't think there's going to be any difference in the reaction from kids. Like, my questioning is the need in kids. Since August 19th, children aged 5 to 17 have had the majority of COVID cases in the state, followed by 18 to 29-year-olds. They've had the majority of cases, but we've already seen, or I should say, we've been told, we still have to wear masks when we're vaccinated because we can still carry it. So are we going to reduce the number of cases, or are we going to improve the outcomes of those cases? Because if you're looking at 1/100th of 1%, resulting in death, 1/100th of 1% resulting in death. And we don't know, of those 16 cases have died, we don't know about comorbidities. We don't know about underlying health concerns. That's private. It's a health matter. We'll respect that privacy. But of that 1/100th of 1%, that means everybody else, you're not improving their outcome. Shaw says with school back in session, highly transmissible Delta variant, the vaccine is needed in younger children. Cut 9.
So that they don't spread it to other people who may be even more vulnerable to severe illness. It's really important to have our kids vaccinated.
What would be amazing, well, what would be a game changer on this, at least, and bear in mind, one man's opinion, and no, I'm not a doctor. What would be a game changer on this, though, would be if we had seen that the vaccine really does get us out of the situation when it came to mask mandates and the like. If we could start to move to where those who got on board, those who got vaccinated, are moving out of the pandemic, if we could see some discernible response for that, I think the game would change completely. Here comes CBS News. I got to run right back downstairs. In this segment, for sure. All right. Do it for the other kids, not just yours. The other kids were the 99.99% are surviving. 99.99%. You mean do it for the other kid? Stanley says, I think it's experimental. Yes, it is. Yes, the experiment is experimental. The experimental trial, definitely experimental. Yeah, no. Said I wouldn't want my kids in a trial. My husband reminded me that we have a kid in trial right now, but it's called Total 17 because there have been 16 previous protocols. Yeah. No, there's a definite difference there. That's. What up, T-Bob? No, we don't. CVS bricked on me. They don't have anybody available till after 9. But they give me somebody at 9. Yeah. Well, I mean, the show's over. No, exactly. Hey, good morning, Christy. Oh, good. I am under. I'm at 18% body fat now. 18. Yep. I know. Vicky over at Go Slim is like getting mad at me because I want to get down to 10%, and I'm like, I really want that. That's 10% body fat is like a professional athlete, and that's yeah. It's doable. It's doable. I was above 35 when I started, so.
You just can't see yourself at all.
No, I know.
Like the less body fat you want, the more you have to hold to it. Strip up is a lot easier.
Yeah. If I get under 15, I'll be happy, honestly. So.
How much did you used to weigh?
I was at 253 when I started. I'm at 203 right now. 202 and a half. So I round up. Yes, you do. I don't need high humidity today. Damn it. Saturday was brutal. Saturday morning humidity was like 96%. We were in Bruley for a cross-country meet, and like right there on the riverfront, or Bruley High, which is like a block away from the river. I'm on the west side a lot lately. .638. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. I got to close the book on the whole COVID topic just because 19 months into this, there are so many different inconsistencies that it's impossible to look at things through a broad scope. Everything you look at has to be through just a narrow lens. Everything's going to be in a vacuum because once you broaden things out over the course of this pandemic, you're going to run into inconsistencies that are just baffling, that just leave you saying, I don't understand. The more I learn, the less I understand. So we'll move on. Talk about something even more frustrating. Are you ready for a rate hike in your power? Entergy Louisiana customers could see a 15-year, $5 a month charge following 2020's storm damage. Grabbing this one from Blake Patterson at The Advocate. And no, I didn't misspeak. 2020 storm damage. Not this year, last year. Entergy Louisiana seeking permission from state regulators to charge its customers nearly $2.1 billion to cover the cost of repairing their power grid following last year's hurricanes Laura, Delta, Zeta, and the subsequent winter storm in February. More than 1 million customers statewide, excluding those who live in New Orleans. Don't worry, New Orleans, you're getting yours soon enough after what's going on right now. Excluding those who live in New Orleans would face the surcharge, with the average residential customer paying an extra $5 a month for the next 15 years. Entergy Louisiana officials told this to state lawmakers on Monday. Quote, even if it sails through the complicated regulatory process with ease, the fee increase likely won't be added onto customers' bills for at least another year. This is not a quick process, says Brandon Fry, or is it Frey, F-R-U-I, Executive Secretary of Louisiana's Public Service Commission, which regulates Entergy Louisiana and other utilities. It's not the first time Entergy Louisiana customers had to pick up the tab on repairs sustained from natural disasters. Customers already pay a monthly storm restoration charge to cover basic damages from Hurricanes Gustav, Ike, and Isaac. Following Hurricane Ida's catastrophic jaunt through southeast Louisiana, more on that in a second, which leveled 30,000 utility poles, another surcharge is expected. In what other business in this world can you just go back and charge your customers after the fact? If I were to walk into a restaurant, sit down, and order a nice meal, if I were to walk into a restaurant and order, let's say, a steak, a baked potato, and some asparagus, and I look at the prices that are on the menu, can they bring me back a bill that includes, like, it costs more to clean the plates, and we had to go out and buy new ones, so we got to charge you for new plates. Also, the asparagus. Yeah, we come to find out that we had to go back and get a second round of asparagus because the first batch went bad. So we're going to double charge you for the asparagus we had to throw out and the asparagus that we actually served you. And like I said, one of your waiters broke a plate. We're going to charge you for that one. And we're just going to add a surcharge because, just general maintenance, hidden charges, that sort of thing. In what world does that exist? Where you could just go back and say, hey, everything you thought you were paying for, you now have to pay more for. And don't think for a second that Hurricane Ida isn't going to add to even more of that, not just in New Orleans, but throughout southeast Louisiana. We saw plenty of problems everywhere in southeast Louisiana, not just New Orleans. I know all the headlines were New Orleans, but that wasn't the only spot where there was damage. So, let's move from that story to this story. Another Entergy story. A lawsuit filed on behalf of Entergy customers accuses the massive power provider of failing to prepare its system for a major hurricane, leaving hundreds of thousands in the dark after Hurricane Ida. The suit, filed over the weekend in Orleans Parish, alleges grossly inadequate maintenance and inspection of Entergy's system. Nearly 1 million of the company's Louisiana customers lost power after the storm. Grabbing this one from WBRZ, by the way. Nearly 1 million of the company's Louisiana customers lost power after the storm pounded the southeast region of the state when it made landfall on August 29th. Many homes and businesses were left without electricity for weeks. The storm knocked out major electrical structures, including a transmission tower in New Orleans that provided power to 8 different transmission lines, leaving the city totally in the dark. Quote, we are standing... Well, no. Wait a second. Put them on hold, please. We are standing up for people and businesses who have been injured as a result of Entergy's negligence and failure to transmit energy to its customers, Attorney Juan LaFonta said. From the families who have lost a freezer of food, to businesses who have been shuttered as a result of power loss in hard-hit communities, to those with serious injuries or hypothermia-related wrongful death due to power loss, our intent is that all Hurricane Ida-impacted residents are represented in this class action lawsuit. It's noted within the story that there were 9 people who died in Orleans Parish from excessive heat due to extended power outages as a result of the storm. So Entergy now is going to be facing a lawsuit. So you're going to have to tack on, possibly, tack on $5 a month to make repairs from 2020 storms. You're going to have to tack on whatever they find out the cost is for Hurricane Ida's repairs. And would you be shocked if their legal fees don't come back on customers as well? Picking up the tab for the class action lawsuit? Couldn't help but notice that, quote, we're standing up for people and businesses who have been injured as a result of Entergy's negligence and failure to transmit energy to its customers, Attorney Juan LaFonta said. Attorney Juan LaFonta out of New Orleans is heading up this class action lawsuit? Is this the same Juan LaFonta that's got Big Frida in his commercials? That's a real commercial, y'all. That's real. That's the man who's going to take Entergy down. It's not on a loop. I didn't remix this at all. That's the man who's taking this on? Clearly, he's serious. Clearly, he's got everyone's best interest at heart. He says, LaFonta continues, from the families who have lost a freezer of food to businesses who have been shuttered as a result of power loss in hard-hit communities, let's call on Big Frida. I mean, so much to unpack from that as well. I think it's time to get the Public Service Commission back on. We talked with Dr. Craig Green a couple weeks ago in the wake of the storm about what their role is in the wake of the storm. Well, they're on the clock when it comes to whether or not we're actually going to see that $5 surcharge in the future. Picking up the tab for everything that was broken. 646 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We got Your Money Now coming your way in just a minute. Hey, before we get you to break, got to ask if you put on a few hurricane pounds. No, you can't push your bill off on somebody else, but what you can do is start adapting or adopting some healthier lifestyle choices to maybe take some of that weight back off again. Look, there's never a good time to diet in South Louisiana. There's always something on the calendar, like we're in tailgate season right now. Always a reason not to adopt healthier habits. But if you so choose, you could be on your path to a healthier lifestyle by checking out GEAUX, GoSlimBR.com. I've been a part of the Go Slim program. I'm down 50 pounds. Got 9 more to go till my goal weight. Diet food, you can get anywhere. This diet food is really good, but it's not about that. It's about the accountability. Every single week, I call it food confession. I go over there, I weigh in, I talk about what I've done right and how I can do better, and I'm back on the right track every single week. They're on Bluebonnet at Perkins, right next to Rouse's. You can call them at 763-9627 or visit GoSlimBR.com for Go Slim Nutrition. Yeah, okay. That's not the priority ever. Like, I don't normally take phone calls. There are going to be people who just want to call in because they want to talk to you for hours on end. That, like, put them on hold till the break. That's fine. What did they want? Yeah. Yeah. That's
Very annoying.
what were they? Was it about COVID?
No, it was about.
Entergy?
He was saying like, where's the cough button? This is so unprofessional. Like, he's snorting into the mic like a pig. Really, dude?
Did I snort into the mic like a pig?
He snorted in the mic once.
Oh. All right.
Is it really worth calling in? And being
All right. Kill my mic for a second. Eric says, well, they'll be reimbursed by FEMA. Yes, of course they will. In every other business, you could just raise prices to regain losses. Entergy is regulated. No, Entergy can raise prices to retroactively regain losses and then collect moving for the future. And oh, by the way, every other business, I have the opportunity to go somewhere else. I have the opportunity to take my business elsewhere. Regulated? I like the fact that you quoted that. That's an important part of that comment. Regulated. That's what happens when utilities have oh, thank you. Clinton nails it. Utility companies always charge you after a service is consumed. It's called fuel adjustment charge. That's true, too. For building a new plant, and we'll never rake the charge away. Exactly. $11 billion. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm curious. Gordon doesn't get free commercials. You think that was a free commercial for Entergy? Was it a free commercial for Entergy? I just like Big Frida. That's all. I just like Big Frida. That's all there is to that. Frida. If that's what counts as a commercial. We ready over here? Are we? Are we? Yes, we are. Hot diggity. Good morning. Welcome in. Awesome. Welcome aboard. Can't wait to get... Ooh. Oh, is this us?
Huh?
Is this us?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So yeah, the Public Service Commission definitely on the clock when it comes to what Entergy has planned in the near future. We've got the CBS World News Roundup coming your way in just a little bit. Next hour, we're going to talk with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. We are going to talk with Congressman Troy Carter. Right now, though, we've got, just a ton of topics to get to in this one segment here. Let's start with this one, the Planning Commission from last night. Days after heavy rain brought flooding to areas of the capital city, the East Baton Rouge Planning Commission denied a rezoning request for a subdivision project along Burbank Drive. Maple Cove, an 11-acre, 60-lot project near University Villas, was one of several potential projects either partially or entirely in the floodplain to be heard yesterday evening. Commissioners noted 24 comments in opposition to the proposal, which sits in the AE flood zone. Concerned residents also highlighted the project would have been constructed entirely on wetlands. Quote, if this is developed, where is this water going to go? Ben O'Connor, president of the University of Villas Homeowners Association, asked the commission. Again, Bayou Fountain, all of these home values are going up, and it's awesome. It's great for the city, but what good is it going to be in a few years? It's going to be flooded, and all the home values are going to tank. No one is going to want to live here. And I got to say, I don't disagree with them. A lot of that is low-lying area to begin with. It's just built up because of where it's at on the road from LSU on outward. After public comments wrapped up, one commissioner expressed his concern about continued development in areas already seeing high water during frequent rain events. Quote, until I feel like we get the flooding situation in Baton Rouge under control, this is not an area I'm willing to support additional development right now, Commissioner Jamie Ellender said. I mean, we might be at a point where we can look around Baton Rouge and say there are just certain areas that shouldn't be developed because of where they are elevation-wise. I mean, if you ever drive up Burbank and you're driving from, like, let's say campus all the way out towards where it'll turn into Seagan, and you'll look to your left and you'll see Highland Road, or you'll see the woods and then Highland Road's behind it. Highland Road is called Highland Road because it is a high land. There's a drop-off there, and you're going to be significantly lower. I think the Planning Commission made the right call here. It does propose a lot of other perplexing situations where you look at it and say, well, doesn't the individual owner of the property have the right to develop? That discussion ended a long time ago. But this is also a temporary thing. It'll be looked at again in the future when, flood control is at a different stage in Baton Rouge. Moving from that topic to this topic, still talking about storms, but getting back to last year's storms again. Governor John Bel Edwards is in Washington, D.C. You heard a little bit about this in our news at the bottom of the hour. Governor John Bel Edwards is in Washington, D.C., requesting urgent federal assistance for residents impacted by hurricanes Ida, Laura, Delta, and Zeta. So, yes, this year's and last year's big three, the other two named storms as well, along with other natural disasters over the last year. GOSEP Deputy Director Casey Tingle says the governor wanted to meet with leaders in hopes to speed up assistance.
To explain the unmet need that's out there because of the gaps between what insurance can pay for and people that were uninsured or underinsured, the extent of the damage.
It's crazy how much Southwest Louisiana still needs to collect because of last year's storms. We talked about this with Senator Cassidy a few weeks ago. As Ida rolled through, everyone in Southwest Louisiana was looking at New Orleans saying, yeah, well, game over. We're forgotten at this point. Not the case, though. That's the whole point of the governor's mission here. Tingle says among the requests, Edwards will be asking for assistance with unmet housing needs and flexibility in match for public assistance. Tingle says with multiple natural disasters, the governor could demonstrate several unfunded needs.
The cumulative effect of all of that for our state, that certainly we should be better positioned for the aid for those that were impacted by those storms over a year ago, as well as those who've been impacted recently.
Now, after a disaster, municipalities are faced with several immediate costs. For example, overtime for first responders and debris removal, which we're experiencing right now in Baton Rouge with the debris removal. Often they'll receive federal matching funds to help offset the cost, like we're seeing right now. The first 30 days, FEMA's picking up 100% of the tab. But after that, it scales back, and we have to start picking up the tab there. And what we're seeing right now is you can have a 30-day clock on this. No one's getting it done in 30 days. That's just not happening. What did Kelvin Hill from the mayor's office say? 12 weeks, I think is what they were looking at, which is a lot more than 30 days. So you can receive some federal matching funds on the front end. There's always going to be some left over. Tingle says Edwards will be asking for flexibility with that funding.
The ability to utilize community development block grant funding to also be able to fund that non-federal cost share, particularly as we get into the permanent repair or replacement of facilities.
So I was looking at the governor's schedule. He'll be back Thursday. So this isn't just a fly-in, fly-out thing. He's there now. Or there today. We'll be there through tomorrow, and then we'll fly home Thursday. So, curious to see if he's got other business than just a few meetings on this, because that's a long trip. All right, we got CBS News coming your way in just a little bit. Next hour, looking forward to talking to the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. Hurricane Ida recovery continues in Baton Rouge. We got a lot of ground to cover with that. There's also a few other things to follow up from last week's economic indicator dashboard with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. Also next hour, Congressman Troy Carter is going to join us. We weren't able to connect with Troy last week, Congressman Carter last week, so we haven't really had a chance to dive into the full assessment of damage from Hurricane Ida when it comes to the 2nd Congressional District, which covers a lot of the path of Hurricane Ida. So looking forward to talking with Congressman Carter in our next hour. Before we get out of here this morning, Attorney General Jeff Landry is going to join me at 8:15. There's a lot to cover there as well, especially when it comes to vaccine mandates. We're going to dive into that big time. How far? We talked with State Representative Valerie Hodges yesterday about will we see further mandates in Louisiana. We'll talk with Attorney General Jeff Landry in our third hour today. Right now, though, we got to get your CBS News here at the top of the hour. CBS World News Roundup coming your way, followed by traffic and weather next. It's just so good. Bong, 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 bong. All right, there it is. Clint says, I feel like if we had choices in utility companies, it would mandate that they keep maintenance up or they lose customers and go out of business like private industry. Yes, correct.
Jake, what's up?
Hey!
What's happening, Rich? You good?
I'm golden, brother. How are you?
Hey, man, look, no big deal. If you need it, whatever. Hey, look, I just do it in my own little way, but you remember the game the barn burned down?
Yeah,
That was tonight. And then Ray on Hill, you remember he did the 2-point conversion, went the other way?
I do.
And then, let's see, after that,
Wait, Rayon was, that was the same game?
Yeah, because LSU was up at the time, 17-15, with 7 minutes left. Auburn had scored to make it 17-15. Then Ray on Hill intercepted the 2-point conversion and brought it and made it 19-15.
That's right. Jeez.
And then, really, on this day in 19 was Joe Burrow's coming out party. You remember 2 weeks earlier against Texas, the 3rd and 17?
3rd and
They
17.
started talking about it.
Yeah.
That's when LSU scored more points against Vanderbilt that day than it ever had against an SEC team. That's when they
Yes.
won 66 to whatever.
Yeah.
And it's the most points LSU's ever scored against an SEC team.
I like it.
Anyway,
I like it.
all good?
All good. Rayon was 96, right? The barn burner was 96.
I'll never forget it, man. Sitting there watching the flames up in the air.
You were at the game?
Oh, no, just on TV. I can
Yeah.
only imagine. Like, if you had family and stuff sitting in that stadium,
Yeah.
because it looked like it was like 10 feet. You know?
Yeah. I remember I was in Covington at the time at a friend's neighbor's house, and we were like watching TV outside in the woods somewhere. It's crazy. Just they had a whole outdoor setup, but they're like right on the
There's a neat
Bogosfalaya
little
River.
documentary on ESPN about it because they had to make a decision, and they thought it would endanger more of the fans if they tried to evacuate the stadium.
Oh, thank God they didn't.
Then when they said, "Hey, look, it's kind of under control," it's,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Anything new on your end? Same old poo.
Same old poo. Was West Baton Rouge yesterday. Abby's team, my 9-year-old, coaching basketball again. 21-5 last night. We beat the shit out of Holy Family. I freaking hate this, man. It's 4th grade girls.
Was it at
I
Holy
don't like-
Family's gym?
Yeah.
God, I love that area. It
Oh.
reminds me of the channel.
It's so old school.
Above
That
ground
whole
houses, window
yes,
units, got the little neutral ground.
yes.
I love it.
Oh, I love it. But I just like I don't mean to run up the score, and I'm not running for the worst scores.
Oh, you still coaching? Yeah. Oh, I didn't know. I know Moscone used to give you hell. You know, I didn't know.
Oh yeah, no, that was real. That was we were.
Oh no, I knew it was a bit there, but I didn't know if you were still involved.
Well, no, next daughter. First one's off in high school now, so I got my next one going through. I'm like, girls, just stop.
You didn't press the whole game. No. Then you ought to tell their parents to do a better job getting them to dribble and bring it out.
So their coach comes up to me after the game. He's like, they needed that. They needed that ball moving. It'll teach them to start paying attention.
Hey, B,
I'm like,
I want to be.
they're 4th grade girls. Okay. Okay.
You take that one off, B.
Huh?
I got it.
All right. Galen says, folks, you have two choices. Pay actual cost of storm restoration, which should be depreciated costs. Why aren't there depreciated costs? Or pay a forecasted estimated storm restoration fee in advance of the storms. Here's the thing. If Walmart's distribution center in Robert took damage from the storm, and Walmart were to institute a fee in order to cover that damage, you'd stop going to Walmart. That's the part that never enters the equation here. We don't have that choice. Okay. I don't know where my charger went. It has disappeared. Hey, go down. You know where my office is at? I've got one in my office. You can use that one.
Not the cubicle where the couch is where you are now.
Where the couch? No, yeah, where the couch is in my office.
Well, that's no good. You need me to get a towel? Used to be a lot more than that. Need me to go send someone?
I got it. That was weird. It just fell off the chair. I've never seen that before.
I didn't even touch anything. I just told me.
Well, no, it's just sitting there. This is why this place is haunted. 706, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Hour 2 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Brian here with you, Jake producing. We have a very busy hour lined up this hour. Congressman Troy Carter at 7:35, Adam Knapp from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber at 7:15. Going to have a lot of ground to cover with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, so I'm looking forward to that. Of course, we'll round out the hour with the outside in about 60 seconds. We're going to get you to top stories and trending. Before we get to top stories and trending, though, got to tell you about the folks over at Inventherm. The Inventherm app is still available. I tell you about it just about every day. But let me ask you this. In your game day routine, have you swung by Inventherm yet? If you've not yet taken part in that, I got to tell you, you're kind of missing out. Stop by, pick up your craft beer. Stop by, pick up your meats to throw on the grill. Or stop by and grab some to go. It's really a fantastic game day experience. Now, we got an away game this week, so a little bit different of a scenario. But if you're hosting some folks at the house, if you're having a little game watch party, swing by Inventherm. Get it taken care of. Now, they got the downtown location on 3rd Street, but Nicholson and Skip Burtman Drive, they're right across the street from Tiger Stadium, the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. And yeah, I do tell you about the app every day because the app is super duper convenient. Do your grocery shopping before you leave work, pull in the parking lot, they bring it out to you, boom, you're done. Both locations in Inventherm, downtown on 3rd or in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. All right, time for top stories and trending. Let's get it. Westdale Middle staying home today. A fire sparked a transformer at a middle school Monday. Cut classes short. Going to keep the campus closed through today. East Baton Rouge School System said the fire started around 9 a.m. at Westdale Middle after a transformer blew on the school's campus. Sparks caused the fire to erupt inside of a self-contained energy closet in the school's gym. The fire caused a power outage, which prompted an early dismissal. The school will stay closed today as Entergy works to restore power. In hopes of addressing local drainage issues, 2 area leaders are uniting to advance a proposal they believe will benefit both communities. Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome and Ascension Parish President Clint Quinmaw announced yesterday a recommendation to enhance drainage along Bayou Manchac at the border of the 2 parishes. Broome and Quinmaw proposed a cooperative endeavor agreement to clear and snag Bayou Manchac from the Amite River to the parish line of East Baton Rouge, Ascension, and Iberville. The project would remove blockages to allow for better water flow. This proposed project heads next to the EBR Metro Council and Ascension Parish Council for approval. The number of COVID patients in Louisiana continues to drop. According to the Louisiana Department of Health's reported numbers on Monday, we are down to 1,276 in the hospital. This is, of course, a continued drop from the peak of 3,022 the state hit on August 17th. The number of reported cases continues to be high, with Monday's numbers showing, 3,194 new cases, Monday's number showing 3,194. Now, that is a weekend total, so while it's high, it's not a one-day tally. The number of deaths reported was 55. Of that 1,276 in the hospital, 235 were on ventilators. Police are investigating the death of a man who was found shot inside his car over the weekend. Baton Rouge Police Department said Jamone Williams Jr., 19 years old, was found dead in his car on Greenwell Street near Breckenridge Avenue around 8:40 p.m. Saturday. No other details surrounding Williams' death were immediately released. 2 people were injured overnight in Baton Rouge in a shooting on West McKinley Street. BRPD is reporting that the shooting in Old South Baton Rouge left 2 people injured, not dead, injured. According to Baton Rouge police, officers were called to the 650 block of West McKinley shortly after midnight. Authorities say a woman suffering from life-threatening injuries was rushed to a local hospital. A second individual, a man whose injuries did not appear severe, was brought to a hospital by a privately owned vehicle. Police say additional information will be forthcoming as it becomes available, but as of last reporting, both were still alive. That's a look at your top stories. Here is a look at what's trending this morning. Right back to the governor. Here's the governor's story that's trending this morning. Governor John Bel Edwards traveled to D.C. yesterday to speak with Louisiana's congressional delegation about federal funds for storm victims in Louisiana. In a tweet, Governor Edwards said the goal of the meeting was to impress the, quote, urgent need for federal assistance for the people of Southwest and Southeast Louisiana. He clarified this in his following post, citing the February freeze, May flooding, Hurricanes Laura, Ida, Delta, and Zeta as reasons Louisiana families need urgent assistance. Governor Edwards plans to head back to Louisiana on Thursday, so he's got all day today and all day tomorrow in D.C. to make the rounds. That is a look at your top stories and trending. We're going to take a quick break here in just a second. We're going to check traffic in just a second. After that, when we come back, let's get caught up with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber next, right here on Talk 107.3 FM.
Who's joining us from BRAC?
I believe Adam Knapp. Yeah. No, it's about all that's going to come out. A lot of it already soaked into the carpet. That was a mess. All right, so y'all couldn't see it on camera. I have my gallon of water, like I do every day, and it's just sitting on a chair, right? And it rests against the back of the chair and the arm of the chair. Well, I don't know how, but like nobody touched it. Nobody was even on that side of the room, and it just fell to the ground and popped open. No, nothing hit it, nothing touched it, nothing moved. Baffling. Entergy seems to be spending CapEx on Band-Aid repairs instead of real capital investment and more resilient infrastructure. Get the lights on seems to trump keep them on. Great point, Troy.
No weather, right?
No. Yeah, I think the ghost did do it. Yet. Where's the FEMA stuff? There it is. There he is. Okay. 714 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. We're going to hook up with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber here in just a second. Before we do, though, interesting question from Debbie, talking about one of those stories in the top stories and trending, about the Ascension Parish President Clint Quinmaw and Mayor President Sharon Weston Broom teaming up to work on drainage. She asks, help the water flow to where? It's a good point. It's a good point, because if it continues to go downriver, will it not still be plugged up and backed up? And wasn't it Iberville Parish that was putting up bladder dams? Darn good question, Debbie. We'll see if we can't get an answer to that. Is it Adam? Okay. Time now to welcome in Adam Knapp from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. He joins us. We speak with the Chamber every single week, and we do so now. Adam, good morning. Welcome back. How are you, sir?
Thanks for having me. Doing good.
Glad to have you on here. We got a lot to talk about in the wake of Ida, but I got to start with a question that I know we're going to disagree on, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Future PAC poll on cats renewal finds strong support.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we wanted to find out kind of what's the general temperature on sort of the situation of the transit system in Baton Rouge. What's the kind of perception heading into an election? You know, the elections were delayed because of the hurricane. They're now going to be on November 13th.
Yes.
And so we wanted to kind of gather some additional kind of public information from residents. What we found in the poll is 57% of those living in the area of the Cats election, right? So it's in the city of Baton Rouge. The city boundaries are not the same as the parish boundaries. 57% say they support it, 31% say they oppose it, and 12% are undecided. So heading into the election, it does seem like there is and before really any kind of additional marketing has been done, you know, by proponents of the election, that there's already a decent amount of a majority kind of in favor of this at 57%.
So I'm probably in that 12% undecided because I of course realize that having public transit is vital to having a thriving city. It feels like with cats we've seen the exact same game and nothing's changed. Like, is there a way to, I don't know, we've tried it before, to reinvent cats, to spread the word to where it's, you know, everybody drives. Well, maybe mix in a ride on a bus once in a while. Is there a way to broaden the scope or broaden the appeal of our public transit in Baton Rouge?
Yeah, no, that's exactly the concern and consideration we have had is the same as yours, is a desire to see them continue to push forward. We're in the middle of doing some further analysis. So 9 years ago, when they proposed this tax to fund the transit system, we had done some work back then as an organization to make sure that we understood where they should be heading. So we're actually in the process right now of kind of benchmarking their progress against goals that they had set or the public had set for where they needed to get to. And with that, also asking them, where are you setting your goals to change in the future? So we should be able to have some more to share with the public on our work to analyze this in the coming weeks. But we're asking that exact same question, Brian.
What's the biggest pushback as to why more people don't use it?
I think the number of things are route speed and frequency. So if you're able to get into a car and it's as productive to get you to where you're going versus transit, which if it's slower or the routes don't go exactly where you're heading, those are most commonly the things that sort of stand in the way. What was interesting, but I will say in the poll data, if folks want to see it on our website, we can direct folks where they can find it. But even for folks who don't ride cats, it had a majority favorable opinion, which was probably the thing that surprised us the most, was an assumption that most folks don't use it, and those who don't use it wouldn't be as supportive of it. But in fact, even those not using it have a generally favorable opinion of it, which again surprised us, and expect to vote to renew it. I think that speaks to what you opened with a moment ago, which is it seems to be that there is an understanding of the need for transit, even if folks are using it, right? That there's an understanding that it provides a service that's important to the community, for folks who need this and have no other means of transportation. This is a kind of vital link to their employment and healthcare and kind of visiting family, all these other factors that it turns out to be super important for. The other thing that we're trying to dig in on, but back a decade ago when this was coming up, to determine if they should have a recurring tax, the biggest thing was that they were on a very antiquated hub and spoke system rather than a kind of a grid route system where they have distributed nodes. And that has been a shift that they've made in the last decade, to introduce this route system rather than kind of a hub and spoke system. So we're kind of going through to see what's that change done to make them more productive or efficient as a system.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of the 57% is an approval of cats, a tacit endorsement of cats, and just an acknowledgement of public transit as a need within a major city or within any city. Because when you start to break down some of the individual questions within the poll, you talk about that hub and spoke system versus the route system. How would you rate CAT's bus system for having easily accessible bus routes? Only 5% rate that is excellent, 24% is good, 28% is fair, and then 28% didn't have an opinion, and 16% said it was poor. So the number of people who said it was poor was 3 times that said it was excellent.
That's right. Yeah.
My concern is that an approval or a renewal of the millage is going to appear to be, hey, status quo, everything's good.
Rather than, that's right, an endorsement that we want change and improvement and gains. And that's where I think we've been pushing before and now that we want to see a specific, clear plan. That last time we were voting on a change to deliver a series of specific changes. Now we're in the same position of asking them, what are you committing to the public that you will deliver differently in this next decade of your service? And that they have outlined some specifics, and we're trying to dig into those to see how those match up to where I think community expectations are.
Yeah, absolutely. The one that is concerning to me, Adam, is the question of how would you rate the CAT's bus system for its buses being on time, where only 4% were able to say excellent there.
Yeah, no, it is.
43% had no opinion, so that should be noted. But that was the lowest high answer on the internals.
That's right, and that 43% also reflects that very few folks ride the transit system and can't really weigh in on that question. But it doesn't speak highly to the functionality of the system with that number being so low, right?
No, it is a topic of concern to say the least moving forward. But when it all comes down to it, what are our other options?
So it's interesting that you asked that, because I think in the last decade, and if you kind of make some assumptions about what might be different in the next decade, in the last decade, you find the arrival of Uber and Lyft as options of transit choices, essentially, that have come into the market. And so this is interesting to watch, is that there's essentially private transit options available with much greater significance. I mean, if you remember, when this was done, there was only, I want to say, like 100 cab licenses in the city as an alternative if you wanted to get any kind of taxi choice in the community. So now you have abundant options of private transit in the form of Uber and Lyft, which are expensive but available. And that's essentially the private option competition right now.
Would that be a pipe dream, or would that be feasible? I mean, how would that work?
You mean if they were to...
If Uber was used as public transit. Right.
So there are communities that have done that, Brian, that they have subsidized a portion of your ride fare as an option. Another option has been is that they created, I think in at least a couple of communities, we've heard of examples of a nonprofit version of an Uber and Lyft that was created to essentially do ride share matching. And that's been, worked in some places but failed in others. So there are choices where those kinds of things have been offered as well. So I think that's the big question: is does that play into this in the future, or is that left really just as private choice, again, a private service option?
Would that affect CATS at all, or would it just be in addition to what's offered? Like, that wouldn't limit the number of bus routes and the availability of buses. That would just add to the total package.
It would. That's right. Yeah, and you've seen some of this already. They've introduced more what they've been referring to as microtransit during the pandemic and in other specific moments when they've had a need to deliver alternatives. They've used smaller options and less on a fixed route and more on kind of specific need routes where they'll introduce something that, and that's not quite as on demand as Uber, but it's getting kind of in that direction that they're trying to use smaller, more nimble route structures to try to get to folks.
Adam Knapp from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber is our guest. I didn't want to dominate the whole conversation with public transit, but it was something that has come up in the news of late, so I wanted to address it. We've talked a lot of COVID-19 recovery, or we've talked a lot of COVID-19 impact throughout this segment. What's the latest there?
So we continue to pace upwards. I think the concern was that we saw a little bit of and I want to say, I don't even use the word spike, an increase slightly in unemployment insurance claims statewide that occurred during Hurricane Ida. There was a conversation about whether that would be potentially likely to motivate the state to reconsider some sort of one-time funding for unemployment insurance. The governor or outside groups floated an idea of something like that with a nod to the recognition or the belief that between the Delta variant and Hurricane Ida, that there was some additional need for additional unemployment assistance beyond what was available, and that the feds continue to offer those resources. We and others have pointed out that creates a hiring penalty, that there's a kind of you're fighting against the dollars from the feds when you're trying to solve and hire into this workforce shortage that we've been seeing over the last few months. So the important thing is that conversation is out there. We're watching it. What we have watched in the data, though, is this increase in unemployment insurance claims for folks being laid off or losing jobs during the hurricane period. Is that affecting the capital region? Is it affecting the whole state? And is it a temporary blip? Does it go down after a couple of reporting periods, or is it persistent and growing? And so that's what we're watching really closely to find out: is there something shifting in the overall labor market or not?
How long would you have to monitor to determine if that's a Hurricane Ida blip or if that's something long term?
So I think we want to see kind of activity over 3 or 4 weeks to determine a trend line for our own analysis. This is a decision that the state has to make, but we're kind of watching it for our own advocacy's sake, to something we need to kind of try to cool down the conversation a little bit, to say, like, let's stay the course. The hiring is a really important part of the recovery right now. We don't need to necessarily put barriers to hiring right now, which is what we've seen in the past when we've had that kind of recurring federal supplement out there.
Let's talk chamber business for a minute, because since we are in the wake of Hurricane Ida, the Baton Rouge Area Chamber does play a role for its members when a storm rolls through. How is it that y'all help after a storm?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we just hired a new position that was really funded because of the COVID response needs, but plays a role especially in this moment. So our new position is our small business technical services provider, who is going to be on staff with us to reach out to our smallest businesses who are most often in need of additional assistance or guidance through the pandemic or through the hurricane recovery, right? So a lot of our work has to do with making sure that our most vulnerable, most needed resources get to those businesses that need it the most. So we just hired in that position, and we'll be saying a lot more about that in the coming weeks. But we're really excited to be able to have that availability, in addition to what our standard operating procedure is making sure we're reaching out to companies, determining their challenges, and then trying to make sure that resources exist to match up with them. We've been doing that over the last 3 or 4 weeks to make sure that we're connecting to all of our other allies across the state, offering short-term rental space if folks need a place to operate out of temporarily. That mainly is facing those communities that are still having substantial outages and shortages, or where their business has been directly impacted or destroyed. That if they need a place to operate out of, we've got options for them in the capital city if that's a resource for them. So a lot of what we're doing is a good example of is trying to make sure that there are ways that we can match the crisis at hand. We're also closely paired up with our other partners in New Orleans and Thibodeau to make sure that if they see challenges, we're responding to them. Last week, we hosted a webinar, for example, on business interruption insurance.
Yeah.
A lot of folks have in their insurance policies for their businesses some options where if your utilities go out and you lose income as a business, there is in some of these policies a opportunity for kind of recapturing lost income because of a utility outage. Those are the kinds of things we're trying to get that information out to businesses so that they can understand what that means. That webinar, if folks want to go and watch that, it's still available on replay through our BRAC.org /prepare site if you want to go and find out information about that. And so that gives you an example, Brian, of us trying to make sure we're responsive to the challenges that folks are facing.
Absolutely.
I want to flag, if I can, just one other item that's in the next week or so.
Yeah.
Something that we're watching really closely, and you've covered it really well on your show over the last few weeks. The federal government is in the process of debating a massive infrastructure bill, and we were fortunate to see Louisiana increase its transportation funding. It remains, in the long run, one of the biggest obstacles that Baton Rouge business owners are concerned about is the infrastructure of this region and this whole state. It was good that the state put some resources down, a massive increase in funding for transportation out of the general fund. And now we're watching closely to see if the feds are going to pass the same. We have come out with a lot of other business organizations supporting the need for a federal investment in infrastructure to make our country more competitive. For the capital region, it's a huge piece of the funding mix to try to solve for some of our biggest mega projects. And so I want to point out to the community, like that possibility of that funding will be decided or potentially be decided in the next week, as Congress has set an initial deadline of next Monday to determine if they're going to take action on that Senate passed bill.
Well, thank you for the tease, because Congressman Troy Carter's coming up next.
There you go.
Congressman Garrett Grace tomorrow and Congresswoman Julia Letlow on Friday. I've got it on the list for all three to ask them specifically about that.
And what we wanted to share is we were in D.C. last week meeting with members of Congress and their staff. And what we wanted to share with them is the politics are messy. We get it. The animosity between parties is at a fever pitch.
Yes.
So we heard an example of folks not riding on the elevator because they just don't want to be with the other party right now. I mean, this is just a poisonous atmosphere for many. But in many times when we have a crisis as a country, we do see the opportunity to come together in a bipartisan fashion, work through the challenges. There are legitimate concerns that Republicans raise about the nature of the infrastructure bill, and yet this is the opportunity to try to work through those concerns, separating it from the big budget bill, which has a lot of problems, and just focusing on infrastructure for the country. And for Baton Rouge, we know we need to find ways to get solutions. And so that's really the question, is how do we work through various challenges to get to the heart of the matter, which is the funding necessary to build mega projects in the capital region that are going to address our congestion challenges.
He is Adam Knapp with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. We visit with the Chamber every single Tuesday. Adam, thank you so much for the time this morning, man.
Thanks, Brian.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. We are super late. Let's catch our local news, traffic, and weather. Then Congressman Troy Carter's next. Actually, I got to run downstairs one more time, y'all. I'll be right back.
Talk 107.3. Morning. We'll be live. I'm sorry? I'm doing well. How are you? Wonderful. Well, we will be live in about 2 or so minutes, and as we do that, we'll get you on. Yes, audio levels are going well. Yes, sir.
Checking your interstates now.
certain point, I'm just going to have to go to my doctor's office. We're going to skip weather here. Yeah, I ran super duper long with Adam. He brings so much good information to the table. I never want to stop him, but yep. Yeah. This is why podcasting is so effective. Podcast goes until it's over with. I see that. All right. How long do I have?
About minute 20.
Okay.
15.
I'm going to run across the hall real quick.
All right. You have a
Complete collision. I'm on it. I am on it. Wait. Where'd all my papers go? Oh, no. All right. I'm going to do it next segment. 738 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Thanks again to Adam Knapp from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. Time to shift gears and move from Baton Rouge up to Washington, D.C. Talk with Congressman Troy Carter, our 2nd District Congressman. Congressman Carter, good morning. Welcome back. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Brian. How are you? I'm doing well, man. Just trying to get it all together.
I hear you. You got a busy a busy stretch coming up in Congress. We're going to talk infrastructure in just a second, or the transportation bill in just a second. But first, I've got to ask you about Governor John Bel Edwards making a trip up to Washington, D.C. to talk with Louisiana's delegation about relief from Hurricane Ida, Laura, Delta, Zeta, the freeze, Ida, you name it. If it's a natural disaster that's hit within the last, I guess, calendar year plus, he's up there looking for a little bit of help. Have you already met with the governor yet? Or if not, what's the plan here? Because I can't imagine he needs to sell y'all on getting more help, but he needs y'all to help facilitate getting the word out to others up there.
That's exactly right. I had dinner with the governor last night. I'll be with him in several meetings with chairs of significant committees, appropriations. Rosa DeLaura, who is the chairperson for appropriations. We'll be meeting with other key leaders on the Hill, not to necessarily make a case as much as to adequately explain where our needs are. I think most people have been tuned in and they see the level of devastation. Of course, you know, the president walked the neighborhoods with me. We had Secretary Fudge this past Friday to come and walk the neighborhoods with me. We had HHA Secretary to come and visit some of our sites. We've had the the FEMA administrator on the ground with us as well. So And I've also invited a delegation of bipartisan members to come in and work with me and Garrett and Julie and other members of our delegation to show firsthand, so you put a face with the devastation and not just something you see on television.
Which is important, especially at a time where partisan bickering seems to be at an all-time high, and it just every time we think that it's as bad as it can get, it seems like it's getting worse. How are you navigating that water?
I'll tell you, that's probably the greatest challenge I have, and I overcame it in the state Senate. I overcame it in the Louisiana legislature because we had an opportunity to build relationships. And when you can build a relationship, you can demonstrate that every disagreement doesn't have to be a fight. Every disagreement doesn't have to be fatal. We can learn to agree to disagree, but still put the issues and the needs of the people first.
Right.
Unfortunately, when you have 435 members of Congress, you don't get a chance to spend as much quality time as you do when you're one of 39 in the Senate or one of 144 in the entire legislature.
Right.
Yep, that continues to be a part of my daily mission, is to build those relationships, to demonstrate that, you know, everyone has the right and should enjoy their party pride, but none of that should transcend or overrule what's best for the people of Louisiana.
Well, and there's also the perception of it and the optics of it, where anytime someone is seen to cross the aisle, and Senator Cassidy's going through this a lot right now, anytime someone is seen to want to work with somebody, it's like they're cast aside as if they're, well, on my side of the aisle, it's called a rhino. I mean, it seems like every one of y'all is in the crosshairs all the time, that if you don't spit on the opposition regularly or enough, then you're not doing your own party any good, which I believe is the opposite of what the reality should be.
That's a fact. Listen, I'm a proud Democrat. I make no apologies for it. Bill is a proud Republican. He makes no apologies for it. But I applaud Senator Cassidy for stepping up and saying, you know, enough is enough. Listen, no one can challenge my credentials. But you know what? I've seen the devastation. I've seen the pain of the people back home. And whatever it takes for us to build alliances, to bring resources, to stop that pain and to rebuild and to build back better and to create a better, safer, cleaner community, we should all do it. So for anyone to criticize Senator Cassidy because he's fighting for the people of Louisiana and challenging wrong wherever he finds it, even if it happens to be in our own respective parties, and that's what you elect leaders to do.
And you realize just by you saying you applaud Senator Cassidy, that could lead to a negative headline about Senator Cassidy.
Well, it could also lead to a negative about me.
Yes, it could, sir. That's exactly right.
You know what? I don't care, because that's not what I got elected to do. I
Good.
got elected to serve the people and to fight for their best interest. And if somebody wants to criticize me or Senator Cassidy for giving 110% of everything we have to fight for the people, then so be it.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. It's refreshing, to say the least. Congressman Troy Carter is our guest. Let's talk infrastructure. Let's talk transportation bill. What are we looking at? What can we expect?
Well, you know, we obviously, whenever you've got 435 strong personalities, you have people that have very determined thoughts on how they'd like to see the outcome. So we're going through that natural battle that everyone else does, of what's perfect for some is not perfect for the other. What's good for some is not good for the other. My challenge is to make sure that we're able to convince to our colleagues that, you know, let's not throw away the very good in search of the perfect. And we have to fight for a victory, whatever that victory looks like. Listen, you know, we have the discussion of hard infrastructure and soft infrastructure, the semantics of whatever that means.
Yeah.
The reality is, be it bricks and mortar or housing or infrastructure, they're all important. And from my standpoint, hard and soft infrastructure is very, very important to me. Some people think, well, I need more soft, I need more hard. I need both. So I'm going to fight to make sure that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater and end up with nothing because we tried to be the proverbial dog with the bone in your mouth overlooking the water, seeing the reflection of the bone, drops it to grab another one, and you end up with nothing. We can't afford to end up with nothing.
So that sentiment is exactly right, but when you take that and translate it into things that have, nondescript definitions like infrastructure, we don't have a jobs bill, we don't have a housing bill, we don't have a transportation bill, or a roads bill, I guess would be a better way to put it. When it gets that amorphous, that's where we start to lose focus, and when we lose focus, that's that you got the dog with the bone scenario. So how do we keep it on task? How do we keep it to where funding roads and bridges funds roads and bridges?
Well, I think the advantage of where we are, and the reason this is so important, and the reason that ambiguity plays a role, the ambiguity of how do you define, hard infrastructure versus soft infrastructure. Well, you know what? In my estimation, let's throw all that out completely, and let's call it rebuilding America. And you rebuild America in various forms. Brick and mortar certainly is a part of rebuilding America, but rebuilding communities and families and broadband and being ready for the technological age that we find ourselves in are all equally as important. Creating economic opportunities and housing is all equally as important. I think where we got ourselves in trouble is when we try to define ourselves into this narrow box of somebody's definition of infrastructure. Toss that out of the window. Let's talk about rebuild America. And when you rebuild America, you know that there are multiple facets and components to it. And we don't get this opportunity to have such a massive bill often. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something that's life-changing for people all over the country. We shouldn't miss it because we get caught up in the minutia of semantics of this word or that word.
But don't you end up right back in the thing in a situation where you're trying to eat an elephant in one bite? If each bite is equally important, then tackle each one at a time.
Well, respectfully, Brian, I agree with you on one part, disagree on the other.
Okay.
It's a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
But because we are here and we're at a point where, you know how long it's taken us? Republican administration, Democratic administration, Republican administration, Democratic administration. We've talked about infrastructure bills, and we've yet to have one of this magnitude. Now we're here.
Yeah.
And if we have to start picking things out and throwing to the side and start cherry picking what is and what isn't, man, I don't know in our lifetime we'll get another shot at this. So the eating the whole elephant at one time, I don't think it's possible to eat it all time at one time, but I do think we got to take big bites. I don't think we can nibble on this puppy. This elephant requires big bites because the needs in our community are big, and we have to think big. People sent us here to think big and to do big, not to nibble. And so while we're at this critical stage where a lot of heavy lifting has been done, kudos to the Senate for pulling together a bipartisan bill that recognizes the need for both aspects. Listen, in any negotiation, someone's going to get a little more than the other. On a good day, neither walks away with everything they want, but we all get something. My goal is that we all get something, that we're able to say that no one perhaps got 100% of what they wanted, but we fought for the people to get as much as we can get to them.
I've got literally 20 seconds left. Is there any one particular part of this bill that's a deal breaker for you? Is there a drop-off point where you just say, I'm out?
Yeah, if there's no resources for Ida. If we don't have significant resources for the state of Louisiana, then I'm out.
He is Congressman Troy Carter. I'm sorry to cut you off. We just got to meet a hard break right here. He is Congressman Troy Carter. We meet every week, and we will meet next week. Thank you so much for the time, Congressman.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. We're coming up on Your Money Now, which is coming your way right now. Hey, after Your Money Now, we step outside of East Baton Rouge Parish. We've got the Outside In coming up next, right here on Talk 107.3 FM, the new flavor of talk. I didn't think I was going to get him in for 15 seconds. That was good. I was almost certain we were going to miss Your Money Now. Yeah, I did. Yeah, Troy was good in the state legislature. I knew he would be good in Congress. I'm not like He's on the polar opposite end of the political spectrum from me, but he's a guy who can meet in the middle. So
I don't really care if I agree with everybody. All I care about is if we can have a discussion.
yeah.
Is this the correct picture of him?
Oh.
Classes.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to do is save an article about somebody and then post the wrong picture. Picture of somebody else.
All right. What do we got next? Let's see. Outside in. I got to get complete collision. That's what I was thinking of. All right. I'm still baffled by how this happened. I put that bottle in the same place every single day. It sits right here. So just like that every single day. More like that. So every single day. And then there's no, like, it doesn't squeeze, like, you can't, I have to push hard to get it through there. Like, I have to push it down to get it through there. And yet, gravity just took over and whoop! Makes no sense to me. Cat survey is done. Hey, do you want this for writing about Adam Knapp? It's got internals from the poll.
Not a lot for this type of history.
Oh.
These are my stuff. I don't know if it's like I'm not looking at the right website, but as far as deaths go, I'm only finding from like.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm not seeing it on my sports rundown, but I want to say Monday Night Football premiered tonight in 1971. Or, yeah, on this day in 1971, okay. Oops.
There was an issue with the railroad crossing Highland Road westbound before I-10. That is now cleared, so that's good news. And just your average delays, of course, heavy around College and the 10. Unfortunately, major accidents on the side streets as well.
Yeah. .755, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Thanks again to Congressman Troy Carter for hopping on board, as he does every single week. That segment has to move around. It's not in the same time slot every week, but it is the same day. In that we get the congressman on. It's valuable to hear from the 2nd Congressional District. We hear from Congressman Graves every Wednesday, Congressman Carter every Tuesday, and we'll see if we can't grow that a little bit to hear from more of your Louisiana delegation in Washington, D.C. Coming up next hour, our Attorney General, Jeff Landry, is going to join us. Got a couple of different topics to cover there. Right now, though, actually 60 seconds from right now, we're going to get the outside in. Got to tell you about the folks over at Complete Collision Center, though. 2 locations, 19511 Plank Road in Zachary, 9848 Perkins Road in Baton Rouge. When you get into an accident, a lot happens very, very, very quickly. First of all, is everybody okay? Any injuries? Secondly, is everybody in the other car okay? Thirdly, let's assess damage to our vehicle. Now, this is where it gets hairy, because where are you taking your vehicle? If you call your insurance company first, they're going to send you to a place where they've got a deal hammered out. They're going to send you to a place where they are the customer, not you. You need to know who you're calling before you get into an accident because, like I said, it happens quickly after an accident. Complete Collision Center is certified by more than a dozen major car manufacturers, and they have the iCar Gold Class certification. What does the iCar Gold Class certification mean? Well, bottom line, they don't build cars like they used to, which means they don't repair them like they used to either. Today's vehicles contain advanced lightweight materials and safety features like crumple zones and sensors to help protect your family. Complete Collision knows how to get to those, knows how to find those, knows how to fix them back to better than they were. Well, better than they were before they came off the factory line to begin with. Check them out online at CompleteCollision.com. If you need to put a phone number in your phone before you get into an accident, go with 658-1493. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check out CompleteCollision.com. All right, let's get to the outside in. Let's go. We've got a lot of fallout from last weekend's violent weekend in the surrounding parishes. Start off in Iberville Parish. 2 teens are in a juvenile jail out of state following a deadly shooting outside of BRAC's bar over the weekend. One is accused of the deadly shooting at the bar. Investigators said the other juvenile was at the bar and is accused of shooting a pregnant woman in the head in Plaquemine back on April 9th of this year. By the way, ATC Commissioner Ernest Leger has asked to suspend operations at BRAC's bar until an investigation could take place. That investigation will happen in October, early October. Next stop, Poincapie Parish. The man accused of killing 2 people and wounding another in a triple shooting Friday night has turned himself in. Morris Hollins is the man accused in the killings at a family gathering in New Roads. A spokesperson with the sheriff's office said 2 people had been shot in the chest at close range. They were found dead in the road. They were later identified as 34-year-old Howard Hollins Jr. and 25-year-old Jarrell Hollins. Down in Orleans Parish, a class action lawsuit on behalf of Entergy customers accuses the massive power provider of failing to prepare its system for a major hurricane, leaving hundreds of thousands in the dark after Ida. The lawsuit, filed over the weekend in Orleans Parish, alleges grossly inadequate maintenance and inspection of Entergy's system. St. Helena Parish is looking at a September 27th date to return to class for their schools after being damaged by Hurricane Ida. They'll likely be the last school district in the state to reopen. Back to the New Orleans area, this time St. Charles Parish. An 18-wheeler burst into flames on I-10 outside of New Orleans Monday afternoon, shutting down the interstate, blocking eastbound traffic headed toward the city. This was on the Bonacary Spillway. If you were headed down to New Orleans yesterday, you were up in it, and it was not pretty. The interstate was shut down, and folks were rerouted to 310. That is the outside in. Let's take a quick break and check CBS News. Do what? Read what? Shot a pregnant woman in the head. That happened back in April. 1970, not 1971. That's why I got it wrong. All right, Dan. Don't worry about it. Well, I mean, you got time right now, so if you want.
If it turns out to be a troll,
It probably will be.
just hang up immediately.
That's fine. Either way.
Top 173. I-12 eastbound. What are you trying to report?
What do we got? And that's why you do answer.
You're near Satsuma? Have we heard anything on the matter?
What?
Satsuma, I-12 eastbound.
No, I have not. Traffic reported a fire on the Bonacary this morning, too. I don't know. If you're talking about the story I just did in the Outside In, I was reporting on yesterday's fire had shut down the interstate for some time.
Sorry, we haven't heard anything of that yet. Did that stop?
We'll look into it.
We'll look into it. Thank you. Have a good one. Sounded like a troll for a second, but...
Hey.
There was an issue with the railroad crossing Highland Road westbound before I-10. That is now cleared, so that's good news. And just your average delays, of course, heavy around College and the 10-110, but no major accidents to report and no major accidents on the side streets as well.
Yeah, no, there was nothing in the traffic report about that.
It said it was a dead stop.
Yeah, let me pull that up and look into it real quick. Traffic reported a fire today, and you reported on the fire from yesterday.
Who we got coming up?
Thank you. Yeah, no, I reported on the fire from yesterday. I just listened to the traffic report. There was nothing about a fire today. I've listened to all the traffic reports today, and I haven't heard Anna report anything on a fire. If you're hearing from another news source that there's a fire, it would be reported 3 mile. Okay. Was Anna reporting on that? Or are you grabbing this from another news source? Because Anna's been doing the traffic reports this morning. Listen to earlier reports. So I'll go back and listen. I need the I-12 thing, though. The I-12 thing is more pressing right now. Yep. Really good segment Today. It's an accident at 8:04. Okay. .806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. One addendum to that traffic report right there. It is still slow going on I-12 eastbound. Looking like I'm not seeing a root cause for this, but around Satsuma, I say slow going. It's basically stopped on 12. Looks like a good couple mile stretch. This is just it's in between Livingston and Haldane. Is where I'm showing the delays right now. So if you're on 12 eastbound, you can expect a number of delays. And if you're on 10 eastbound, it looks like it's smooth going getting out of the city with the exception of right around the, is it the Highland Road exit? That is the Highland Road exit. Outside of that, within Baton Rouge, those are your hot spots if you're trying to get away from the city. The routine traffic slowdowns are what we're looking at within the city as well. We'll get another traffic report here in our next break. Coming up in our next segment, Attorney General Jeff Landry. Right now, though, time for Jake to take us back in time with This Day in History. What do you got, Jake?
Well, starting things off, in about 1780, Benedict Arnold commits treason. Love that for us.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I prefer omelets myself, but alas. 1937, J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit is published by George Allen and Unwin in London. 1970, Monday Night Football, created by Rune Arledge, premieres on ABC. Browns 31, Jets 21. That's a blockbuster game.
Yeah, Joe Namath losing to the Browns. Huge night. I was born like 6 years later, so I didn't even know. But
1986, New York Jets beat Miami Dolphins 51-45 in overtime, record of 884 passing yards. And on that same exact day...
Wait, when was this?
1986.
86?
Yes.
Okay.
And on that same day, the New Orleans Saints, Mel Gray returns kickoff 101 yards for a touchdown.
Gotcha. Yeah, I did know that one about Mel Gray and the Saints. Yes, absolutely.
Who dat? And in 2004, Green Day released their album American Idiot in the U.S. Love that album.
It was on this day in 1996 was the barn burner game for LSU and Auburn. Yeah, 1996, excuse me. Did I say 86? I meant 96.
I think you said 96.
Okay, well, 96 was the right date anyway. Yeah, the barn burner game, Rondell Mealy at Auburn. This was the second year of the Bring Back the Magic era, and that was a huge night, especially coming off of 95's Auburn game with Troy Twilley and the interception in the end zone. You go to Auburn the next year, and you have another one of those magnificent Auburn games. I love the Auburn series. They're going to be 8 p.m. in Tiger Stadium on October 2nd this year. Late kickoff, to be sure. But the Auburn series, the LSU Auburn series, is one where there's been so many matchups that they've defined themselves. You had to Bring Back the Magic game. You had the barn burner game. You had the cigar game. So many of the individual games have had their own personalities, their own names, and their own just blockbuster battles. Also, this day in 2001... On this day in 2001, 41,235 people showed up at Shea Stadium to see the Mets beat the Braves. Why is that a big... Mike Piazza, 8th inning home run. Why is that a big deal?
Tell me.
It was the first time baseball was back in New York after 9/11. We all remember George W. Bush throwing out the first pitch for a Nationals game.
That's right.
But the return to New York was in Shea Stadium, which I also like saying Shea Stadium because it's better than Citi Field.
That concluded for the historic events. Now we move on to birthdays. First up, we have Jason Derulo turning 32.
Seen him in concert.
Not too shabby. Was he good?
Oh, God, yeah, he was really good. He opened for Lady Gaga
What? Wow.
at the UNO Lakefront Arena. Yeah, this was like the Ooh, What You Say had just come out.
Oh,
He wasn't
wow.
a big star yet. And he was opening for Lady Gaga with the Bad Romance tour. And my wife and I went to the concert. Literally ran into him in the breezeway, in the walkway outside the concourse outside. After he was done, he just went out and started taking selfies with everybody. Yeah, it was the craziest thing. Like, I mean, we're like way too old to be there. Obviously, just love Lady Gaga. But like as we're walking around, just boom, like bumped into him. And was like, oh man, I'm sorry, my bad, because he's clogging up traffic while he's trying to take selfies with different fans.
Wow.
But yeah, cool dude,
That's awesome.
great performer, great dancer.
I would hope so. Moving on, we have Stephen King turning 74.
Yep.
We have comedy legend Bill Murray turning 70.
Mm-hmm.
We have Liam Gallagher, 48. Alfonso Ribeiro.
Carlton?
Yes. Those who don't know who that is, that's Carlton. He is turning the big 5-0 today.
Wow, Carlton is 50.
Yep.
I feel like you should have queued up Tom Jones's "It's Not Unusual" for
should've.
that.
Dang it.
See, it's a learning process, Jake. Still training. It's a learning process.
Hey, next year,
Yeah.
I got it.
Next year on this date, exactly.
And to conclude the birthdays from my end, Sidney Moncrief turns 64.
All right. Add Cecil Fielder to that mix.
Who?
Former Tigers and Blue Jays first baseman. 4 home runs in one game one time. Cecil Fielder, yeah. I'm a child of the 80s and 90s. Baseball at that time was huge. Also, former LSU Tiger, former Chiefs wide receiver Dwayne Bowe. Happy birthday, Dwayne.
Happy birthday. I don't have any deaths to report on. I guess that's a good thing, but we'll just move right along to the holidays. Starting off with something kind of nice. International Day of Peace. World could use some of that, but let's go to the stupid ones.
Okay.
Miniature Golf Day. Actually, it's not really that stupid. Mini golf is fun.
Yeah. So, yeah.
National Chai Day. I think like chai is in like...
Tea?
Yeah.
Okay.
National Pecan Cookie Day. Or pecan, depending on where you're
Don't
from.
ever say that again. It's pecan.
It
It's
is.
pecan.
No, I agree.
Don't
I'm just trying
even try to placate those that mispronounce it. They're wrong, and they need to be wrong in their wrongness.
While they are wrong, and I agree with that, I feel like it should be at least fair for me to include them.
No, they deserve no inclusion. They are banished.
You're wrong and you're banished.
That's right.
Say it right. Anyways, and the last holiday I have to report is World Alzheimer's Day.
That's right. If you missed yesterday's Medical Monday, it's available on demand at talk1073.com. We talked about Alzheimer's and dementia. Multiple types of dementia, actually. But that's available on demand. Jake, thank you. Great job, as always.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break, check traffic. When we come back, Attorney General Jeff Landry joins us next. What's happening, gentlemen? Doing great. All right. All good, all good. Before we get down to business, I got to ask a really tough question. How many kids lost shoes on Saturday? Oh, wow. We had half a dozen. Really? Yeah.
None of ours. I've worn them before. I said, don't tight, don't not.
Yeah.
More important question, did they keep running or did they pick it up?
We had 6 girls finish with 1 shoe. No, every one of them went to the finish line. I was wondering about the guys. I'm not a cross-country guy by nature. Like, you know. Well, no. We're like Carrie ran for 4 years. Abby's in her 3rd year and has 4 more years to go, or 5 more years to go. She's in 4th. But yeah, I'm totally sold. Coach LaVille's amazing. Yeah, we bought in big time when our oldest started. But yeah, Abby did not lose a shoe, but we had 6 girls lose a shoe jumping that ditch. So.
Hey, Brian, where's the Talk 173?
Do what? Right around this corner. Look there, and then turn right. Well, there's no way you can listen to the traffic reports on here. You'd have to multitask between the two. 8:15, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Quick addendum to traffic. It is slow going, if not a crawl, if not a complete stop. 12 eastbound heading out in between Livingston and Haldane is where it's looking like on the map. And 10 eastbound, if you're getting all the way down to New Orleans, we're still looking at multiple accidents around the Bonacary Spillway that are being dealt with. So if you're heading down to New Orleans this morning, you might want to budget out some extra time and or find an alternate route. Maybe hop off the interstate earlier and take airline on into town. Joining us now is Attorney General Jeff Landry. We love checking in with the Attorney General. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Brian.
I've got a couple things I want to cover this morning, and one of them might fire you up a little bit, and that's COVID
Just
mandates.
a couple?
Yeah. No, we got. But I want to start off with a big win for shrimpers in Louisiana, and this stemmed from your office. So take the floor, sir, and tell us what the latest is.
Yes, a couple of weeks ago, Judge Malazzo, and I applaud her for it, issued a common sense ruling. She enjoined the TEDS rule that was affecting our shrimpers off the coast of Louisiana. The TEDS stand for Turtle Excluded Devices, and have been a controversial gadget that NOAA's been trying to force on these shrimpers, which absolutely reduces the overall catch. And the problem is that there just are not any turtles where these shrimpers are shrimping. And so it's one thing to say, look, we need to put these devices in there to save a bunch of turtles. But if there's no turtles there, then why would we have to worry about saving those because they're not there, they're somewhere else.
Right.
And so this rule has really has an opportunity to negatively affect our shrimpers. We got into the game late and filed an injunction several months ago. We've been in court. She enjoined the rule temporarily until next year while we litigate this particular issue and ask NOAA to go out there and do some more surveys just so that they can understand that this isn't an area that needs protecting because there's nothing to protect there.
I mean, I would think this level of experimentation would just simply be use a net without them and show the results, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, Brian, but again, this is look, I've seen this with NOAA ever since I was back in Congress in 2010. I mean, it's the same thing they do to us, to the recreational fishermen in regards to, say, snapper, when they were giving us, we can only catch 2, and they were only giving us 3 days of summer. And, I mean, they really just want to turn the Gulf of Mexico into their private aquarium and only allow big corporations to fish it so that we can buy, snapper at Costco and Walmart, but we can't bring our kids out there and teach them the great art of recreational fishing. But again, these are just the kind of things that NOAA does to impose and burden everyday citizens. So we're real glad that we got this injunction against them, and it's something that's going to help save the shrimpers at a time when a lot of the fleet had been decimated to begin with.
Yeah, and decimated due to storms and a number of other different factors. The pandemic played a huge negative role in their business as well.
That's correct. And then look, Hurricane Ida destroyed a lot of the fleet. It actually destroyed the net making facilities down the bayou. And so look, that industry is really, a lot of people, I mean, almost everyone down in South Louisiana and around Louisiana enjoys eating boiled shrimp, fried shrimp, any kind of way that you can cook shrimp. And you got to realize somebody has to go out there and catch those things so they can put it on your plate.
Yeah. We forget about that end of the equation, don't we?
We do. We think there's maybe like a little shrimp fairy.
They just magically show up. A little shrimp. Yeah. I could get down with that. A little shrimp fairy. That sounds like you've written like a Cajun kids book right there.
Maybe me and you can co-author one together.
Side project. I love it. We got your office put out a press release about the president's proposed radical COVID mandate and your level of opposition to it. Before we get down to the part of it that nobody's talking about, before we get down to where we're at with the actual mandates, let's start with your opposition to it. Why would you be opposed to the president offering a COVID mandate?
Well, look, when we have the President of the United States starting off with the quote of "this isn't about freedom," it means it's all about freedom. Okay, and this is what I don't understand about this whole debate, Brian. I mean, the Democratic Party, both nationally and at the state level, for decades now, has told the American people and Louisianians how they're the party that wants to unite, that they're the party that wants to bring people together, that they're the party, that creates more peace and prosperity. But yet, since the pandemic, it's been nothing but divisiveness, right? Because when you mandate things on people, you automatically divide them. And I don't understand what the big deal is with this. If you want the shot, you can go get the shot. It doesn't cost you anything, so it doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, or black or white. You have access to the COVID shot. Okay?
Mhm.
And if you want it, go get it. Why you got to mandate that people get it? I don't understand it. So there are people that are mad, right, because they got the shot. They're mad at people who don't get the shot. But if you got the shot, it's supposed to protect you from the virus. So why do you care if someone else gets the shot or not?
That's the part that I find continually troubling. Is that if I'm vaccinated, so I should be protected from those who are not vaccinated.
Right. But the problem is that what we found is that what has started since last year with vaccine is that we're continuing to be lied to, right? Doesn't mean that the shot doesn't grant you some protection, but it's not what it was promised to be.
Right.
And so it's almost like people are saying, well, because I was misled and I believed them, I want you to be misled and believe them. But again, our health care should be our own personal choice between us and our doctors. And so it's not that I'm against the shot.
Mm-hmm.
It's that I'm pro-freedom. I'm not anti-shot. I'm pro-freedom. In other words, I want you to be able to make the choices that are best for yourself. And then we missed the whole debate about people who have had COVID, who have the immunity, who have at least, and what we know now, is 20 times the protection that any of, whether it be a therapeutic or off-label drug or the shot, give you. And yet that's missing as well. This whole thing is bizarre. Biden and them, and I think this is very, very important because I don't want to run out of time. Again, the president said this almost 2 weeks ago, and there's nothing in writing. So everyone out there who's listening that's has some anxiety about the federal government mandating it, I believe the president just says things. It may be aspirational, but his ability to implement it is certainly going to be flawed. And if he attempts to, we're going to sue him, and I do believe we'll be successful.
So that's the part that nobody's talking about yet, is we're 2 weeks removed from this quote-unquote mandate, and there's still no mandate behind it. Has there been any level of communication with any of the attorneys general around the country about logistics, enforcement, constitutionality, regardless of whether or not, because I know you're going to disagree with any level of constitutionality on it, but has there been any kickdown of information of like what they believe would be the reasoning behind it, and whether or not there would be a timeline of seeing something in print and seeing something enforced, and whose job it is to enforce that?
Well, the good news is that after the president spouted off, many attorney generals, almost exclusively Republican ones, visited, and we've had a number of high-level conference calls and discussions surrounding, the legality, what could possibly be done, what kind of action they could take. Because you got to start out with recognizing that maybe there are some things that the federal government could do, and then work your way backwards. And what we found is that he has a multitude of hurdles to overcome. And I think that's why you haven't seen anything in writing. And, of course, you haven't heard anything from the White House either. I think they do that to basically, again, stoke fears, cause anxiety, cause divisiveness, keep the country in chaos, which is all counterproductive and certainly disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we are preparing to protect Louisianians and our job creators out there from having to be succumb to some unconstitutional mandate and basically a takeover of OSHA for our healthcare purposes. So we'll see.
Yeah, the logistics of enforcement and putting the onus of enforcement anywhere outside of the federal level. Number one, you're going to get pushed back, and number two, it's just going to be so broad, spread thin that you're never going to get anywhere. Our own governor has said repeatedly, you're not going to enforce your way out of the situation. Wanted to ask you about the magic number of 100 employees. Like, as a lawyer, is there anything behind that magic number of having 100 employees or more put you in the pool to be vaccinated?
No. What they're trying to do is fit a square peg in a round hole, and I believe they pulled the 100 number because of certain regulations that OSHA has the ability to govern based upon the number of employees in a particular business. And again, like I said, he's got a lot of different hurdles to overcome to try to impose something that he claimed 2 weeks ago, and we've got nothing in print today.
Got a couple minutes left with Attorney General Jeff Landry. Attorney General Landry, want to ask you about the wake of Hurricane Ida. What has your office seen in the last few weeks? I know scam artists always come to the forefront at this time. Are we seeing a wave of this right now? Are people being level-headed? What's the AG's office seeing?
Well, we're seeing some of it. Of course, again, I would remind everyone that anytime they believe they've encountered or have information that leads us to believe that there's any fraud, waste, abuse, or scams that are going out there, to contact the NCDF, which is the National Center for Disaster Fraud, which is located right in Baton Rouge. We have continuously, since the hurricane came ashore and then left Louisiana, our teams have been out there trying to go out and give people good information as we begin the rebuilding process. This has been a long process to get to the rebuilding process because a lot of people, and still some today, don't have power. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that when people begin to rebuild and contractors continue to come into the affected areas, that those contractors are licensed, that we know who they are, that people don't engage in verbal contracts where they put a lot of money up front in order to try to, get in front of the line. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to fan out those particular areas, and we've got sample contracts that people can use. We continuously run the program and take a selfie with your contractor, take a picture of their license plate. That way, those ill and misconceived and nefarious contractors out there who take advantage of our citizens, we want to bring them to justice as quickly as possible so that all that's left are good contractors to help us rebuild.
Yeah, we all long for the day where everyone has their antenna up, their radar up, and that whole, if it's too good to be true, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. That should be as far and wide spread throughout Louisiana as possible. God knows we hit enough storms and rebuilding every single year that we should all be at least aware of it by now.
Right. And so, again, we urge people to contact the NCDF, which we're a partner of, along with our local and federal partners. We want to look, whether it would be the abuse of FEMA dollars, of DSNAP dollars, of nefarious contractors, scam artists who are pretending to be FEMA operators. And those are some of the things that we're going to start to see, too. People call up and say, well, I'm with FEMA. You need to give us $100 to survey your house or whatever it may be. Listen, don't fall to that. The government doesn't charge you to survey anything. Again, if you have any questions, you can call the NCDF or our Consumer Protection Hotline, or go to our website at agjefflandry.com.
And meanwhile, he checks in with us every single month. Attorney General Jeff Landry, thank you so much for the time, sir.
Okay, Brian, take care.
All right, take care. We'll talk to you soon. Yeah, get ready for those phone calls. Hi, I'm Brian with FEMA. We're just looking to process your claim. Just need the bank account you want the money routed to. That's all we need. Just give me that number, and we'll get you processed and on your way. Get ready for it. Happens every year. Happens every hurricane season. Speaking of which, have you checked the hurricane map lately? Got Pete Rose still out there. Not really. It's Peter and Rose. Neither one of us is going to affect us. I just like to look at the Atlantic and see Pete Rose out there. Did you bet on baseball? All right, we got 1 minute until news, and then we're talking with the folks from Inventherm after that. First, though, got to ask you, what are you doing for lunch today? Can I interest you in a burger? Can I interest you in a Mooyah burger? USDA certified prime Angus beef, freshly cut vegetables, freshly baked buns, freshly cut fries, sweet potato fries. you name it. They've got more than a dozen burgers on their menu and a Texas pecan milkshake that is to die for. More than a dozen burgers on their menu to fit your individual tastes, or build your own, or step away from the burger and go with the impossible, with the black bean vegan patty. Dare I say it was good? Seriously, they were in here last week for Foodie Friday. Really enjoyed it. There's 2 locations in Mooyah. Segan, just north of Industrialplex, and Blue Bonnet at Highland. Get yourself a Mooyah burger for lunch today. All right.
Y'all welcome to sit down. Get so comfortable. I think Brian will probably sit over there. I'll take good seats, respective mics, obviously. No, absolutely. So I appreciate y'all doing this, but also sticking around afterwards. It's gonna be a little more longer format, a little more room to run.
Yep.
This is basically be more from a business spotlight sort of standpoint.
Yeah. Okay.
With an emphasis on the $100,000 grant, obviously.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. All mics are on YouTube.
Good. Are we all on?
Well, I guess I gotta open up the YouTube and see. Oh yeah, no, I checked it. It's all good. As much as I can. I can really
Yeah. And this chair's hydraulics dropped. I'm not standing any longer standing. I'm just there. It's like
I
sitting
mean,
at
you're
the kids'
looking
table
lean
for
and
this.
strong. So
Well,
I mean,
thank you.
like I know you probably push that stuff down, huh?
That's the. Well, if you'll notice, there's no arms on your chair, one arm on your chair, and one on this one. We had the number of people that would like try and like push themselves around in the chair and just broke it. bigger guys.
Hey, if you need more
Break
chairs,
up
I know a girl that sells it.
You do. You absolutely do. Yeah. Talk to Gordy. I need budgeting for chairs. And the thing is, Moscona spent a decade bitching about chairs, so I can't bitch about chairs because nobody wants to hear that anymore.
Right.
You
Just
know?
just get the chairs.
Thanks, man. You burned it for me. Pulled the press release up on the screen, but do not want to read off of that because that's tiny. So I went downstairs and get it off my desk. It's funny when I texted you yesterday. I was in the parking lot of Holy Family, about to go play basketball or coach basketball.
Yeah. How's your team doing this year?
2-0
Nice.
so far.
That's a turnaround from a couple years ago, huh?
That was a bit. That was like we played 500. Well, okay, there was 1 year where we went over, and then the next year was 500 ball, and the next year we were 6-2. So
Nice.
yeah.
What age group?
Right now, 4th grade.
Okay.
My previous one's already. She's a freshman in high school this year.
All right. That's your oldest?
Yeah. Yeah, they've both taken the basketball. And they both took the cross country, but they've both taken the basketball as well. So.
What did you do at St. Paul's?
So I started off with basketball and baseball, and then started playing football. Ended up quitting basketball my junior year because we had a change in coaches changing coaches on the JV level that changed things on the varsity level.
Yeah.
And they were just looking to push the class of 97. I was class of 95. They were looking to push the class of 97 and groom them as freshmen to take state by senior year.
Yeah.
So playing time got very scarce, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go hit the weight room and get stronger for baseball.
Yeah.
So.
NBA career was over at that
Well,
point.
you know, 5'11" can't jump, slow first step.
That's why I shifted to cross country.
All right. Yeah, I don't even think he was there. Was Coach Rome there when?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
It was Monty.
Well, Monty was varsity, but
Yeah.
Coach Rome coached JV, and he was pushing. Anyway, 8:38, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So, let's shift gears here completely and do a little business spotlight if we can. I want to welcome in the folks from Inventherm, Danny Fields and Dr. Jason Hugenroth. Excuse me. Keep leaving that R out. I apologize. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome in. How are you?
Morning, Brian.
So I read a press release the other day about y'all landing this huge grant and doing amazing things in the soft serve ice cream space, of all places. And full disclosure, didn't even know this was a thing that y'all are working on, and now it looks like it's going to be a game changer on a larger scale. Where do we want to start? Let's start with what it is you do that is different than anybody else.
With respect to the ice cream itself,
Yes.
yeah. So the major pain point in the commercial soft serve business is the cleaning of the machines.
Mm-hmm.
It's a safety issue. It's a cost issue. What we've developed is a way that you don't have to clean the machines at all, and basically that's done by containing the product from the liquid mix through dispensing and consumable packaging, and so the mix never touches the machine.
How?
So that's the tricky part. The concept itself is sounds fairly straightforward, but ice cream's actually been made the same way for about 178 years. Was the earliest patent we found on the type of you've probably seen the machines. You see that thing spinning in there, or if you made homemade ice cream at home.
Yeah.
That's really how all ice cream is made, from industrial production, down to making it at home. And so we had to change that process to get something where we could do this in packaging. And sort of the critical things to make ice cream are that you have to get the ice crystals really small, and you have to mix air in with the ice cream while it's being made. That's called overrun. And so there's kind of a lot of work to figure out how you could actually do that process and have it in some packaging. And so we've kind of cracked that.
And this leads up to a $100,000 grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, the NIFA, as it were, to take advantage of this innovation and move it forward. So let's start with the grant itself. Like, what got y'all on their radar?
Well, so we applied for funding. So there's a program called the Small Business Innovation Research Program that has some R&D set-asides for small businesses. It's extremely competitive. Normally about 15% of the phase one, 10 to 15% of phase one applicants will get an award. As far as USDA is concerned, it falls under their food safety program. Okay? So the cleaning issue associated with soft serve machines is also a major health hazard issue, and it's a known contributor to foodborne illnesses worldwide. Some countries don't even they recommend pregnant women not eat soft serve, and just because of a possible listeria contamination, and so that's kind of their interest.
Okay.
And then so that's how we got on their radar. We applied. And we're fortunate enough to receive the grant.
So I don't think we really stop and think about soft serve ice cream. Normally, just it's something that's a back burner idea, but this actually has the potential to be a game changer on a lot larger than a Baton Rouge scale. What are the plans with this?
Well, we're moving forward to commercialize it and get it in the market. So we're kind of you go through during the typical product development cycle. There's a stage where you're trying to prove out the concept, prove that you can do, what you're setting out to do, and we've kind of attained that. And so, but there's a whole lot of other details in the actual development process. So we're continuing on that path to, perfecting the technology. Next steps are we want to get machines we can kind of put out in the field, let customers start to see how they work, to get feedback from them, and then we just move on that path to commercialization, manufacturing, and then get them out in the market.
Who is your market? Who are you looking to attract here?
So, Brian, you've probably seen that in the news a lot lately that frozen yogurt and ice cream shops are always having to have their machines down during the time of cleaning, sanitizing, and disassembly. So that takes about 3 to 4 hours at a time, and so. Basically looking at retailers and restaurants that utilize this technology to serve soft serve anywhere across the country and really a global market. It's about a $1 billion market globally annually where these machines are constantly being purchased to replace technology that's broken down. The beauty of this machine is that your no liquid portion of the machine is touching any mechanical component of it. So
that's the baffling part to me. That's the part I'm just you explained it a second ago, and I still the thought that you walk into, like you said, any froyo place out there, any place that has soft serve ice cream, the thought that you can separate those two things to still capitalize on a frozen product is amazing.
So the thought there is that, Brian, you've got kids, Jason and I both have kids. When we go out to the restaurants to, get some frozen yogurt or ice cream, we want to know that when we buy it that it's safe. So about potentially up to 50% of the machines that are on the market contain unsafe levels of bacteria that could contaminate your ice cream cone, your child's ice cream cone, and it's just something that is a real sticking point. Not to mention, it's a profit loss opportunity for the retailers and the restaurant operators to keep this technology the same way that it currently is. So this Creme Joy technology really revolutionizes the technology, makes it safer for the consumer to eat, and it keeps the operation of the machine flowing so that they can continue to generate profit basically the entire time that the retail operation is open.
How hard of a sell is this to a retailer? I mean, number one, you're asking them to replace equipment. Number two, kind of backhandedly saying they're not being sanitary to begin with. So how hard of this is a sell?
Yeah. So the selling point for the retailer is you're right. I mean, they don't tend to think it's their machines causing illness, right? So it's really For them, it's the cost advantage, okay? And so we don't necessarily expect if somebody brought a brand new machine that they're going to automatically replace it with ours. But there's, worldwide about 100,000 machines sold a year, about 35,000 in the U.S. So we're going to tap into that market. And the selling point for them is the humongous cost savings for them. The average cleaning cost, and it varies with the size of the machine and in different situations, but really on the low end, we're finding they're spending about $6,300 in wasted product and labor just to keep the machines, in service. All right. And so we're going to eliminate a huge chunk of that and just give them flexibility to change flavors in 5 minutes, or go from soft serve during the day to daiquiris at night. So it's really has a lot of advantages for the end user.
I didn't think about daiquiris. Now, y'all, the press release mentioned, you get me thinking about daiquiris, and the whole game's going to change. But the press release actually mentioned another potential aspect here. While not the focus of the current development phase, Inventherm's technology can also be applied for producing sterile saline slush, which is used in surgical procedures for reducing tissue damage. How feasible, how far down the timeline, like where would we be looking for the soft serve to enter the medical field?
Yeah, Brian, I spent the majority of my career in healthcare.
Yeah.
And so when I first started having the conversation with Jason about this creme joy technology, and he shared with me the potential for it to eventually get into that category. That to me is exciting because understanding the way that hospitals and healthcare facilities use medical grade slush to preserve tissues and organs, that sort of thing. This keeps the product that is used for medical grade slush sanitary, completely bacteria free, so that that tissue is preserved in a very, very safe way. So a little bit different technology than what's currently being used, but the potential is to replicate that technology to utilize in that space.
Which would be an absolute game changer from an industry perspective, but a game changer from a business model perspective as well. And just the thought of reaching from something as simple as like, oh, you want to grab an ice cream cone before we go, to let's preserve tissue through surgery. It's just those two things you wouldn't think they would come through the same technology, and yet here we are. Did I read right that y'all are actually looking for investors right now? Is that right?
Yes. In the seed phase right now, pre-commercialization phase, looking to raise an additional $1.1 million. So if anybody's listening, certainly reach out to me to connect. But this is funding that is really going to help us continue to develop the prototype and field testing so that we can go commercial with this technology.
What's the ceiling on this? How big can this get?
How many people like ice cream?
Yeah,
it's really our interest came from a number of areas, but one of them was that this is the pain point in the industry and is technologically stagnant. All right, and that's one of the things that really allows you to revolutionize an industry. All the manufacturers use essentially the same technology to make their ice cream and have the same problems, and so this is fundamentally different. And like I said, I feel that's really revolutionized the industry.
And we're always on the lookout for who's going to be the next big thing in Baton Rouge, who has the potential to explode over a national market. You never see it coming before it happens, like a Marucci or a Barbecue Guys or Todd Graves or whatever. So you never know what field it's coming from. If you visit Inventherm, INVENTHERM.com or cremjoy.com, 2 M's in that, CREMMjoy.com. You can learn more. I read about it, found it fascinating, wanted to get you guys on for a couple minutes. Thank y'all so much for the time today.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We got one segment to go here on Talk 107.3 FM. Got to check your money now. We're going to get one more check of traffic. Yes, it is still a parking lot on 12 eastbound near Haldane. That's coming your way next. If y'all can hang out for one more segment, I'll wrap up the show and then come back around to basically the same thing, but just longer format, a little more into your past, a little more into what brought you to this point, that sort of thing. Yeah, stay here. I mean, hang out. We got want to say there's coffee downstairs, but I actually do have water. Let me go. Wait. Yep. You know Jason? Jason's good people. I love Jason. I'm gonna slide back over. Thank you. Where did I finish it go? That's that. No, don't go. Stay. Hello. No, you get out of here with that crack. I already know what's in there, and I'm telling you right now. Oh, did you have a bite, Brian? Oh, yeah. She's peddling French toast over here. It's ridiculously good, but it's decadent. I'm going to come hit you up later. When it's gone. What? Thank you. Jake, you want some? That wasn't a question. Yes, grab a little bit, Danny. Yup. It's friggin' decadent. You bite into that, and it's like. I mean, I've got 9 more pounds to go to my goal weight. She hit me up with a piece of that last week, with the. Right?
Hey, when season 2 comes around for Who's This, I want to have you as one of the.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Couple years difference. I'm way old. You were 01? Yeah. 95. Do what? Right? Because there needs to be another element of sugar in it. There's condensed milk in it. All good. Okay, it's a quick 5-minute segment, and then I'm out. 8:56 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. One more segment to go here on Mornings with Brian Haldane. Don't forget your traffic report right there. Just an addendum to it. 12 eastbound parking lot in between Livingston and Haldane. 10 eastbound. If you're heading down to New Orleans, you might want to budget a little extra time as there are multiple accidents on the Bonacary Spillway this morning. I don't believe there's anything like what we saw yesterday, which was just a ridiculous video, unless you were stuck in it. Then it wasn't video, it was real life, of an 18-wheeler that burst into flames. The fire was actually in the lake at one point. Interstate shut down for quite the long period of time. Before we get out of here, got to tell you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. 2 locations, 4065 Florida Boulevard. That's in Mid-City, 4065 Florida Boulevard, or the corner of Jefferson and Houcheteux down in the southeastern regions of the parish. Have you experienced an adjustable base yet? An adjustable base under your mattress? Look, if you've got problems staying asleep, if you've got problems with the snoring or the sleep apnea or whatever the case might be, you might want to look at an adjustable base. Swing by either location of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. Try one out. It is an absolute game changer if you need it. I've been there when a number of people have, gone by and laid down on it. They bring that head up a little bit, or bring the feet up a little bit, or retract it in just a little bit to get a little angle on the legs. It's a game changer, and it could be the game changer for you. If you're not getting a good night's sleep, it might be your mattress, or it might be that you need an adjustable base underneath that mattress. 4065 Florida Boulevard or 18181 Jefferson Highway. That Labor Day deals roll on, but beyond that, they've got great financing as well. And if you mention you heard about it here on Talk 107.3 FM, you will get free delivery at both locations, or I should say either location, of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. We've got all of 2 minutes left. I don't know if I have enough time to dive into... You know what? We're just going to news dump this for the last 2 segments. First of all, as we talked about in our trending story this morning, Governor John Bel Edwards is up in Washington, D.C. right now. The governor traveled to Washington yesterday to meet with Louisiana's congressional delegation, as well as other members of Congress, to stress the urgent need for federal assistance to ensure a speedy, full, and robust recovery for the people of Southwest and Southeast Louisiana. Yes, that's right, Southwest and Southeast Louisiana. While Ida is still fresh on all of our minds, we went through 5 named storms last year. We went through a freeze. We went through... Hurricane Laurel was about as devastating could be to Lake Charles. They're not mended yet and still need help. Purpose of the governor's mission here is, hey, look, I know these are the fresh headlines, but we haven't finished the last one yet. So he's in Washington, D.C. He will be there until Thursday. Also, in the show, the way we let it off, and that's talking about the weather. Oh, my word. Y'all, we're getting up to 89 degrees today, right? Which, no big deal, Brian. It's September 21st. We're supposed to be at 89. Overnight low tonight, 66. Here's the game changer. Tomorrow, we top out at 79 with an overnight low of 56. Gumbo weather. It's upon us. High tomorrow, 79. High Thursday, 79. High Friday, 79. It's not until Saturday before we see the 80s again, provided the forecast holds. Look for overnight showers tonight to bring this cold front through, but Louisiana looks like we're going to be seeing some fall weather. All right, stick around. Fox News Rundown is next. That'll be followed by Brian Kilmeade, followed by Dave Ramsey, and Jay Ducote drives you home this afternoon from 4 to 6. Thank you so much for listening. All right, we're clear? We're good? Yeah. YouTube, we'll see you tomorrow. I got a podcast to record, so we will see you tomorrow. We got Franz, we got Garrett Graves. I believe we have Kyle Ardwan on as well. So big show lined up.